There are old stories that never die. They outlive the people who first whispered them. They outlive the villages that first feared them. Throughout time, there have been stories and eyewitness accounts of a beast that prowls the edges of the woods, a beast that walks on two legs when it wants to, and howls at a moon it seems to recognize. I'm Stephanie Harlowe, and this is based on true events. Tonight's story isn't one story, it's hundreds of them stitched together, because for as long as human beings have had a word for wolf, they've had a word for something that is almost wolf and almost man. The French called it the loup-garou, the Cajuns called it the rougarou. In the upper Midwest, they call it the dog-man. The earliest written account of a man turning into a wolf is nearly 4,000 years old. It appears in the Epic of Gilgamesh, older than the Bible. The Greeks gave us a word for it, lycanthropy. From the myth of King Lycaon, a ruler so cruel he was cursed by Zeus to spend the rest of his life in fur. From there, the sightings never stopped. Medieval court records, colonial diaries, Civil War letters sent home, and they still haven't stopped. Every single year, sheriff's departments and state wildlife offices across the country still take calls from people who swear, stone sober and still shaking, that they saw something upright at the edge of the tree line, something watching, something wrong. And at a dark, quiet campsite, a man whose head was as heavy as his heart would join their ranks. Today's video is sponsored by Helix Sleep, and honestly, thank God, because with the amount of dark, disturbing information I willingly put into my brain on a daily basis, sleep is not optional. It is a survival tool. It is emotional damage control. I've talked about Helix before. I've been sleeping happily on my Midnight Luxe for years, which is, by the way, ranked as the best overall mattress by both Forbes and Wired. And I really like the fact that they don't just expect you to magically know what mattress you need, because I don't. I don't know what I want. I definitely don't know what I need. So Helix has their sleep quiz, which asks about things like your sleep position, body type, firmness, preferences, whether you sleep hot, cold, all of that. And then they match you with a mattress that actually fits the way you sleep. The Helix lineup offers over 20 unique mattresses. They have soft, medium, and firm options, mattresses for side sleepers, back sleepers, stomach sleepers, and even cooling upgrades, which is great if you're someone who wakes up at 3 a.m. feeling like you've been slow roasting in your own bedding. And the whole process is just super easy. You take the quiz, Helix matches you, and your mattress ships right to your door for free in the US. You also get a 120-night sleep trial, which is plenty of time to actually sleep on the mattress and make sure it's the right fit for you, plus a lifetime warranty. And you heard that right. All of Helix mattresses comes with a lifetime warranty, which is bananas in the best way. Helix is the most awarded mattress brand, and they were recently USA Today's most trusted brand winner for 2026. And this was in a study reviewing 23,000 brands, which is bananas again. Now, outside of all of that, from my personal experience, switching to my Helix mattress years ago has improved the way I sleep, and that's just more than enough for me to know it's great and to tell you that it's great. I used to toss and turn all night trying to get comfortable. I was waking up exhausted and sore, but I don't toss and turn anymore at night, and I only wake up sore if I accidentally fell or bumped into something during the day, and that has nothing to do with my mattress and everything to do with my clumsiness. So if you've been thinking about switching up your mattress, this is your sign to upgrade, and you know I got the hookup, so click the link in the description box or visit helixsleep.com/Harlowe to take advantage of Helix Sleep's Memorial Day sale exclusive partner offer and get 27% off site-wide. Really great deal, actually, 27% off site-wide, so grab yourself a few pillows while you're picking out your new mattress, because Helix has the best pillows ever. I've been loving the Comfort Adjust cooling pillow. It's customizable to support every sleeping position and preference. And not only does it keep you cool throughout the night with Glaciotex heat conductive fabric, but you can adjust the firmness and height to whatever feels most comfortable for you, because it's made with shredded memory foam that contours to your body while still giving great support. So you can see me here. I'm taking some of the memory foam out so it makes it less firm, or you can put more in to make it more firm. Thank you, Helix Sleep, for sponsoring today's video. And once again, click the link in the description box or go to helixsleep.com/Harlowe to take advantage of their Memorial Day sale exclusive partner offer and get 27% off site-wide.
Much further now, Wheeler.
His name is Jim. The woman in the photograph taped to his dashboard was his whole life, and Wheeler, the loyal dog beside him, is all that he has left of her. The campsite he picked was advertised as remote, off the grid, peaceful. And that was exactly what Jim was seeking, peace. Jim had been married to Susan for 18 years, and for the last 2 of them, he had sat powerless and watched her fight a losing battle with cancer. For the first time in their lives together, Jim had been unable to help or protect Susan, and the guilt and grief of that reality had become overwhelming.
Well, buddy, what do you think? I don't see any other campers. Well, more fun for us, right? We better get started.
Jim had wanted to escape somewhere quiet and remote. He had wanted to be off the grid. In some places, that is a feature. In others, it's a warning.
Susan would have loved this. Did you get enough to eat, boy? It's probably just a squirrel or something. Oh, jeez. Running low on wood. Hold on. Be right back.
It's rarely one big decision that dooms a man. It is the small, ordinary ones, like walking alone, into the dark woods, away from the one thing in the world that loves him. Somewhere past the last flicker of firelight, the forest forgot how to make a sound. The crickets went first, then the wind. In the woods, silence is never the absence of something. It's the presence of something, usually something unnatural. Jim had hunted with his father in the Colorado high country since he was 9 years old, and he'd grown up being able to identify all sorts of paw prints. In 50-some years, he had never seen a track like this one. Our instincts are old, ancient even. Jim's body knew before his mind did.
Hello? Hello? What's up, boy? Hello?
Every witness who has ever lived to tell the story says the same thing. It stood like an animal, remembering he used to be a man.
Wheeler!
Jim had trusted that shotgun for over 30 years, but that night, it felt like a toy in his hand, and he was transported to the bedside of his wife, Susan, shaking, powerless, at the mercy of something stronger than he was. If there is one thing in this world we can depend on, it is that the sun will rise. Wars are waged, bills go unpaid, hearts are broken and never quite mended. People are born and people are buried, and still, morning comes, slow, steady, indifferent. It has no idea what happened in the dark, and it never will. Jim made it home. He never spoke of that night, not to his daughter, not to his pastor, not to the men he drank with on Sunday afternoons. Because there is a rule about stories like this one. If you tell it, if you say it out loud, by name, it knows how to find you. The oldest werewolf story in the Western record is not a folktale, it's a punishment. His name was Lycaon. He was a king of Arcadia, a region of mountains and shepherds in central Greece. And according to the Roman poet Ovid, writing in the 1st century AD, Lycaon made a single catastrophic mistake. He invited Zeus to dinner, and then, to test whether his guest was truly a god, he served him a plate of human flesh. Zeus, being Zeus, was not amused. He destroyed Lycaon's palace with lightning, and as the king fled into the wilderness, his clothes turned to fur, his hands to paws, and his voice to a howl. He became the first of his kind, Lycanthropos, wolfman. It's from his name that we get the word lycanthropy. What's worth noticing, even at the very beginning of this story, is what it's about. Lycaon does not become a wolf because of a curse from an enemy or a bite from a stranger. He becomes a wolf because of something he did, something monstrous. The transformation is not the horror. The transformation is the reveal. Zeus did not randomly choose a wolf curse. It was a form of poetic justice. Because Lycaon acted like a beast, Zeus made his outward form reflect the brutality that already existed within him. That, more than anything else, is the idea that will haunt the next 2,000 years of European history. In the Norse sagas written down in Iceland in the 13th century, but far older in the telling, there are warriors called Ulfhednar, wolf coats. They wore wolf pelts into battle. They were said to enter a trance, to become impossible to kill, to fight with the strength of the animal whose skin they wore. The skin was not just armor, it was a sacred totem. By wearing it, the warrior symbolically shed their human identity and merged with the spirit of the apex predator. The Norse had a stranger, deeper word for this kind of person. They called him Eyi en Hammer, not of one skin. It was not an accusation, it was a description, used in the way we might say someone is left-handed. The Norse believed the self was layered, that beneath the physical body there was the hammer, a shaped self, an essence, that for most people stayed exactly where it was supposed to. But for some it didn't. For some, the hammer could come loose, it could leave the body during sleep, or in trance, and travel, as a man, or as an eagle, or as a wolf, while the human body lay breathing in a bed miles away. Across the Baltic, in Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania, peasants told stories of neighbors who slipped into wolf shape at the crossroads. In Slavic country, the Vukudlak in the Balkans, a creature that would centuries later blur with another monster we might come back to, the vampire. By the early Middle Ages, the werewolf was everywhere, and it was about to get a lot more dangerous to be one. Between roughly 1450 and 1650, Europe lost its mind. We remember it as the era of the witch trials, and it was, but running parallel to the witch panic, sometimes overlapping with it, sometimes mistaken for it, was a second wave of accusations, werewolf trials, real ones, with real court records and real verdicts. The numbers are difficult to pin down, but historians estimate that several hundred people in early modern Europe were formally accused of being werewolves. Most of them were tortured. Many of them confessed. Some of them, and this is the part that is still hard to make sense of, they insisted it was true. The most infamous case took place in the German town of Bedburg, just outside of Cologne, in 1589. The accused was a wealthy farmer named Peter Stump. According to the pamphlet that circulated after his trial, which is admittedly the kind of source you should read with both eyes open, meaning a lot of skepticism, Stump confessed to a quarter-century of murders. He claimed that the devil had given him a belt that, when worn, transformed him into a greedy, devouring wolf, strong and mighty, with eyes great and large, which in the night sparkled like fire. He confessed to killing 14 children and 2 pregnant women. The belt, naturally, was never found, and Stump was executed in one of the most brutal public spectacles of the century. It began with Stump being securely strapped to a large wooden breaking wheel, a torture wheel. Executioners used red-hot iron pincers to slowly tear the flesh from his body in 10 different designated places, effectively skinning him alive in front of a massive crowd. Following the flaying, an axeman used the blunt, heavy side of an axe head to systematically strike and smash Stump's arms and legs. According to superstitious beliefs of the era, shattering the limbs was a practical measure to ensure that if his werewolf spirit attempted to reanimate the corpse, it would be physically unable to hunt or walk. To finally end Stump's life, a swordsman stepped forward and decapitated him. His mutilated torso and severed limbs were then dragged to a massive bonfire pyre alongside the bodies of his daughter and mistress, who had also been condemned as accomplices. As a final deterrent, the town council erected a tall wooden pole in the center of Bedburg. The torture wheel, with the figure of a wolf perched atop it, was mounted to the top, and directly above the wolf figure, Stump's severed head was impaled upon a spike for all to see. What was actually happening in Bedburg? Historians have offered every kind of answer. A serial killer, given the only vocabulary his century had for serial killing, a scapegoat in a religious war between Catholics and Protestants, a man broken by torture, agreeing to anything to make it stop, a community looking for a name to give to the unbearable fact that their children had been disappearing into the woods. We may never know. A century and a half later, in the rural hills of south-central France, came the most famous werewolf panic in European history, and the strangest, because the beast at the center of it was almost certainly real. Between 1764 and 1767, in the region of Gévaudan, something began killing people, mostly women and children, while they were tending sheep. Over the course of 3 years, it was credited with more than 100 deaths. The witnesses described it consistently. Larger than a wolf, reddish fur, a long tail, a broad chest, teeth that the survivors said were unlike any animal they had ever seen. King Louis XV sent professional wolf hunters. They killed wolves, but the attacks continued. He sent his own personal gun bearer, who killed a very large wolf, but the attacks continued. Finally, a local hunter named Jean Chastel shot a creature that, when its stomach was opened, was found to contain human remains, and the attack stopped. What was this beast? A wolf? A pack of wolves? A wolf-dog hybrid? An escaped exotic animal? No one has ever been sure, but for 3 years, in a Christian Enlightenment-era European kingdom, ordinary people went to bed believing that a werewolf was hunting their children. And to be honest, they were not entirely wrong to be afraid. You would think that by now we'd be done with this story. We have electric lights, we have satellite imagery, we have wildlife biologists who can tell you, to a reasonable degree of certainty, exactly how many wolves are in a given forest and what each of them had for breakfast. The forests have gotten smaller, the villages have gotten bigger. The dark, in most of the places we live, isn't really all that dark anymore. And yet, in 1936, in a remote stretch of Wisconsin called Bray Road, just outside the town of Elkhorn, a young man driving home at night reported that something stepped into his headlights, something that walked on two legs, something with the head of a wolf. He told almost no one. There was no internet. There was frankly no one who would have believed him. More than 50 years later, in late 1991, the sightings began again. Same stretch of road, same description. A reporter for the local Walworth County paper, a woman named Linda Godfrey, was assigned what her editor thought would be a fun fluff piece, a goofy story about country folks seeing things. She came back 2 weeks later and told her editor that she didn't think the witnesses were lying. This creature, sometimes called the Beast of Bray Road, sometimes just the Bray Road Beast, has been reported by now hundreds of times, always in the rural Midwest, always in marginal light, always by witnesses who, almost without exception, sound less excited than embarrassed to have seen it. On Halloween night 1991, at approximately 8:30 p.m., 18-year-old Doris Gibson was driving her blue Plymouth Sundance on Bray Road through the foggy night when her vehicle suddenly jolted. Doris thought she had hit something or run something over, but it was dark outside, so she hesitantly exited her car to investigate. That is when she saw a large figure coming towards her through the black night. It was huge, with a broad, hairy chest, and she could hear the sound of 2 feet hitting the road. Doris dove back into the driver's seat of her Plymouth, slammed the door, and jammed the key into the ignition. And just as she sped away, the beast launched itself through the air and landed on the trunk of her car. But it was a rainy and fog-soaked night. The creature was unable to keep a grip on the slick metal of her car. As Doris sped away to safety, the terrifying creature tumbled down onto the road. The whole event had been so surreal that Doris was sure she had imagined it, until she inspected her car the following morning and found the telltale claw marks across the back of her Plymouth's trunk. A few hundred miles east, in the forests of northern Michigan, there's another one. They call him the Michigan Dogman. The earliest report on record dates to 1887, when 2 lumberjacks in Wexford County claimed they were attacked by an animal that stood upright. The story was treated as a tall tale, the way lumberjack stories generally were, and it was forgotten. It was resurrected by a radio DJ in 1987. A man named Steve Cook at a station in Traverse City recorded a song called The Legend. It was supposed to be a joke for an April Fool's broadcast. It mentioned by year a series of incidents in which an upright wolf-like creature had been sighted in the Michigan woods. Within days, the radio station's phones began to ring, not with complaints, but with reports. People called in to say that they too had seen the thing in the woods. Some of the encounters they described predated the song by decades. Some of them came from witnesses who had never told anyone and who, hearing it on the radio, finally felt that they could. The song is still played every October on stations all over the upper Midwest. And the calls? Well, they've never really stopped. There are hundreds of these stories now. Thousands, depending on who's counting. The Dogman of Defiance, Ohio, the Werewolf of Wisconsin, the Rougarou of the Louisiana Bayou, sightings in Kentucky and Pennsylvania, in upstate New York, in the bush country of Australia, in the Mexican Sierra Madre, in the forests outside of Tokyo. The witnesses are usually sober. They're frequently sheepish. They are almost never trying to sell you anything. And they describe with strange uniformity an animal that the world is not supposed to contain, and the descriptions match across cultures, across centuries, across people who have never met each other and have no shared frame of reference. The description that a Greek poet wrote down 2,000 years ago about a king who was punished for a crime so dark that the gods had to turn him into something else to hold it. The honest answer is that we don't know what people are seeing on Bray Road, or in the Michigan pines, or in the long shadows at the edge of a Greek mountainside 3,000 years ago. Maybe a misidentified animal, maybe a trick of the light, maybe a story so old and so deep in us that we keep, against our better judgment, dressing it up in the clothes of our own century and sending it back out into the trees. What we do know is this: for as long as human beings have lived near wild places, we've told one another the same story, that on certain nights, in certain woods, the line between what we are and what we could be becomes very, very thin. Thank you so much for joining me for this special episode of Based on True Events. It was something that I wanted to do because it's Memorial Day and everyone's camping and, having cookouts, and I thought a campfire story would be fun. But if you want to see more of this, let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, share it if you think it's worth sharing, and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, stay kind, stay beautiful, and stay safe out in those woods. Bye.